Shalom. Before I get started, as always, I want to give all praise to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, where we learn this truth. Peace, blessings, and salutations to the elect out there scattered abroad, pushing this truth on the four corners of the earth, risking their lives and freedom to do so. It's a brother Tazamak coming back with a quick lesson. I'm going to call this lesson, Eat the Roll. Okay? And I'm going to be going into, when we come into this truth, we come in as babies, being reborn again through the Spirit. We got to put off, everything that we learned in the world, and we got to be reborn in the Spirit. So with that being said, we got to eat this whole roll, these scriptures, get 100% truth, and then go out and teach it. All right? And, it's a completely different world than which we knew. Okay, because when we grew up, we were told that you turn 18, you can do what you want. Sky's the limit. You don't have to listen to nobody. Some people, some brothers or sisters out there younger than others. A lot of people say at 18 that's when you don't have no rules, but some at 15, 14, do whatever the hell they want to. All right, but when you come and serve the Lord, you got to put all that away. Okay, and that takes humility. You gotta, any pride that you have inside of yourself, you gotta purge that out, because the Lord hates a prideful person. Okay, and when you come in, you gotta have a mindset to be taught, to learn, to be a student. Okay, and when you build yourself up enough, you start to teach, but at the same time, you're learning, still learning. Okay, teaching and learning at the same time. You don't come in 3 years and you got everything figured out, and then you go off and be an apostle. It don't work that way. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and get into some scriptures. And I'm going to start off in the book of Isaiah. Let's see. Isaiah 28. And 9. Whom shall he teach knowledge? And whom shall he make to understand doctrine? Okay, and the only people that can understand the 100% truth that are written in these scriptures is the elect. Okay, Amos the 3rd chapter. The Lord will give his secrets to his servants, the prophets. That's the elect. Okay, and you also got the 1/3 in total. We're starting off with 144,000. Okay, nobody else can understand this song like the scriptures talk about. This 100% truth. Nobody else can understand it. If you look at brothers, the number one thing that we have in common is what? This word, this song. Okay? The scripture said that nobody else was able to sing it. Nobody else fully understood these scriptures like we do. Okay? And it says, them that are weaned from the milk and drawn from the breast. So the milk is the basic fundamentals of the scriptures. Okay, and drawn from the breast, because once you build yourself up enough through these fundamental scriptures, right, the basics, you go off and teach. You go off and teach. Once you get nourished enough with the milk, once you get nourished enough with the milk, you go off and teach. Okay, but but if you think about it, when you're a baby and you got to be fed, you got to be breastfed. Okay, and then when you get to a mature enough age, the mom, takes you off the breast. I know it's another term for it, but that's the term I'm using. The mom takes you off. Okay, it's the same thing spiritually. But once you get nourished enough, the Lord sends you off to teach. Okay, takes you off, takes you off the breast, off the milk. All right. I know it's a better term, the way how to say it, but I'm gonna get this next precept. And something that I said was, I brought up the baby because it's spiritual. When you come in this as babies. When you read Romans the 12th chapter, you got to be renewed and renewed in your mind. You can't be that same nigga you were before you came into the truth. This is 2 Timothy 2:15. Study to show thyself approved unto Yahweh, a workman that needed not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. You know, and like I said, yes, we come into the, you know, when we come into the truth, we got to get built up in the scriptures, you know, learn the milk and get into the meat, teaching his word. Okay, but in order to do that, you got to study to show yourself approved to the Lord, man. You got to study. You're not going to just get it by hearing other brothers talk about stuff like, oh, that was good, that was good. You got to literally get into these scriptures. I'm in the scriptures right now. You know, stay in the scriptures, you know. And it says, a workman that needed not to be ashamed, rightly divide the word of truth. And how are you going to, because you're not going to be ashamed and you're going to rightly divide the word of truth, but how are you going to do that? You have to study to be able to rightly divide the word of truth. You can't rightly divide the word of truth if you haven't studied the material, if you haven't studied the doctrine. You can't just go out there and say, I'm going to break down Revelation 13 in its entirety. No, you got to study. You know, that's part of drinking that milk, man. Locking yourself in, studying, building yourself up. You know, getting nourished. You know, studying, you know, this is how you get nourished, from the apostles and elders on down, man. And no, you can't just teach yourself. That's BS too. I'm going to teach myself everything. No, the Lord set up men to lead the flock. You know, the next precept I'm going to get is in the book of Revelation. Revelation 10 and 10. And I took the little book out of the angel's hand and ate it up. And it was in my mouth sweet as honey. And that little book is talking about the scriptures. You know? And that's the whole thing. We're supposed to digest these scriptures. We're supposed to meditate on the law day and night. Like it talks about in the book of Joshua. You know? Like, and it also talks about in the book of Sirach, the 39th chapter. We're supposed to be occupied in prophecy. You know? That's part of when you eat this book, you digest these scriptures. You know, the 100% truth. And it says, and it was in my mouth sweet as honey. You know, the benefits of this truth. Finding out that you're God's chosen people. Finding out that you're gonna get a chariot in the kingdom. Finding out that you're gonna get new bodies. Finding out that you have as many women as you want. You know, finding out that you have spiritual power. You know, finding out that you wasn't really a so-called black man or Mexican person. You know, you're an Israelite. And some of the honey, you know, some of the sweet things. Okay, and then it says, and as soon as I had eaten it, my belly was bitter. You know, when you hear about the burdens that come in this truth. You know, the world isn't gonna like you. You know, your woman and kids could leave you. You know, the Lord is gonna chastise you. You know, you gotta study. You gotta study. That's a part of the bitterness. You know? Because like I said, part of drinking that milk, yes, you have to study. You have to. You know, when I first came in, I was like, God dang it, I gotta, you know, but hey, as you build your faith up, you start to love to study. You start to love to be locked in. You know? It takes time, but you gotta get it. If you really want this, you gotta get it. You know, you gotta get nourished, built up, teach. You know? Everything, all this is going to pay off in the end. I'm going to get this next in the book of Ezekiel. Ezekiel 3. And 1. Moreover, he said unto me, Son of man, eat thou findest. Eat this roll, and go speak unto the house of Israel. You know, like I've been going into the roll, these scriptures. You know, digesting is 100% truth. You know, because Yahweh ate the roll. Okay, he was the first man that was able to understand these scriptures. You know, like it talks about in Revelation, the 5th chapter, and we got to eat the rolls too. We got to eat the roll as well. You know, digest this truth and then go out and teach it. And who is this for? The house of Israel. Okay, 2/3 ain't going to get it on this side, but the elect, we're going to get it. Okay? So it says, so I opened my mouth, and he caused me to eat that roll. And he said unto me, Son of man, cause thy belly to eat and fill thy bowels with this roll that I give thee. Then I eat it. And it was in my mouth as honey for sweetness. And I just had got that in Revelation, the 10th chapter. Okay, you're hearing about the benefits of this truth. That we're God's chosen people. Like I was going into, all the benefits that we're going to receive for being in his wisdom, knowledge, understanding. Verse 4. And he said, Ezekiel 3 and 4. And he said unto me, Son of man, go get thee into the house of Israel and speak with my words unto them. For thou art not sent to a people of a strange speech. And that was it. Yeah, but it says Ezekiel 3 and 4 again. I'm going to get it again. And he said unto me, Son of man, go get thee unto the house of Israel and speak with my words unto them. Okay, so we got to get this truth. We got to digest it, and then we got to go teach our people. And we know that everybody's not going to get it on this side, but we're to prophesy where we are to teach until the Lord comes back and cracks some clouds, and we're to build ourselves up, getting ready for the marriage, like it says in the scriptures, to be joined unto Yahweh Shai forever and ever, because it says we're going to get called up into the clouds and be with him, But that's not going to happen if you're just sitting on your ass. Yeah, I'm reborn in the spirit, but I'm not going to do anything. I have faith. The scriptures say that faith without works is dead. Okay? I'm getting ready to close in the book of John. Let me see. This is John 21 and 15. So when they had done, Yahweh Shai said to Simon Peter, Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me more than these? He said unto him, Yea, Lord, thou knowest that I love thee. He said unto him, Feed my lambs. Verse 16, John 21 and 16. He said to him again the second time, Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me? He said unto him, Yea, Lord, thou knowest that I love thee. He said unto him, Feed my sheep. Verse 17. He said unto him the third time, Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me? Peter was grieved, because he said unto him the third time, Lovest thou me? And he said unto him, Lord, thou knowest all things. Thou knowest that I love thee. Yahweh Shai said unto him, Feed my sheep. And when Yahweh Shai was telling Peter, Feed my sheep, he was talking about this word. Okay, but what did Peter have to do in order to teach that word? He had to, one, be reborn in the spirit. Okay, two, build himself up in the scriptures to be able to go teach it. So Lord's will, this was an edifying lesson with that. I'm going to say shalom.